Hi my dear friends, welcome back to another Python tutorial class, and in this class we shall look for nested looping. Like previously we saw how the for loop works. We have also seen how the if condition works. Inside the for loop, if we place the if condition, how will that work? Then inside the for loop you have if condition, and again inside the if condition you have another if condition, how that works. Now in nested looping we can see that what if we place a for loop inside another for loop, then how that is going to work. So that's what I've written here in this first cell. A loop inside a loop. A loop inside a loop is known as nested loop. Now let us focus on this input. This is the string input that will be provided. This we have covered in the previous classes. Penny paints purple pots with pastel patterns. And what is the output required? The output required is YNNEP. What is YNNEP? It is just the reverse of this word. You see, this word has been reversed here. Y comes first, then you have N, N again, then E, then capital P. Then the second word has to be reversed also. Like paints has been reversed here. You see, S appears first, then T, N, I, A, P, like that. Then the next word also has to be reversed. Purple. It has been reversed, you can see. Pots has been reversed. That is, pots needs to be reversed. So all these words, they need to be reversed. Okay, starting from penny till up to patterns. Here you have pastel, this needs to be reversed. Then you have patterns, this needs to be reversed. Okay, so first of all, let us take this entire string and assign it to some variable. Str1 is the variable to which the string input has been assigned. String value has been assigned. Penny paints purple pots with pastel patterns. Now, first of all, let us obtain the list. We have already seen in our previous class that if I want to obtain a list out of it, then we can directly go for the split function, or we can go by the for loop also. Okay, via the for loop also, we can obtain the list. Like previously, if you remember in the previous class, like here all these codes, via these codes we were able to convert the string into a list where each and every word where each and every word was converted as an element of the list, and that we did with the help of looping, and directly also we can do that with the help of split function like here. LST1 is the variable inside which we are doing the split function, str1 dot split. Okay, so you just have to perform str1 dot split, and this will, str1 dot split will do what? The job of the split method is to split the string from the specified character and return a list. So here no specified character has been given. So by default it will take the space character. So it will split the string from the space character and return a list. And that list will be stored here in LST1, and you can print LST1, and here you can see the output. Okay. What it does here, each and every word has been each and every word has been converted as an element of the list. Like the first word penny, it has been converted as an element of the list, first element of the list. Then the second word is paints, this has been converted as the second element of the list. Then the third word purple, this also has been converted as an element of the list, third element of the list. In this way, fourth element of the list, which is the fourth word pots. Then the fifth element of the list, which is the fifth word with. Sixth element of the list pastel, which is the sixth word of the string. Then the seventh element of the list, which is the seventh word. So how many elements in the list LST1 we have got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now after this, what we can do is, first of all, in the next cell, if you just first of all run this cell. Okay. Now resi, this is a variable to which I have applied or have assigned this empty string. There's an empty string assigned to this variable resi. Now apply for loop first of all. For I in LST1. If you do this for I in LST1, that means you're applying the I to iterate over LST1 element by element. What I will do here is that it will go through LST1 element by element. So at first I will iterate over this element as a whole, that is penny. Then I will iterate over to the second element of the list, that is paints. Then I will iterate over to the third element of the list, that is purple. In this way, I will iterate over pots, then I will iterate over with, then I will iterate over pastel, and then I will iterate over patterns. So at first, I is nothing but your, let me comment it out. At first, for I in LST1, your I will be at first penny. Okay, I at first will be your penny. For I in LST1, that means I will go through LST1 element by element. So I will iterate over all the elements of the list element by element. So it will first be penny, then I will iterate over to paints as a whole, then to purple as a whole, then to pots as a whole, width as a whole, then I will iterate over to pastel as a whole, then I will iterate over to patterns as a whole. Now, once you give the double colon, hit the enter, and after you hit the enter button, in the next line, this is like you can see within the for I loop. This is the for I loop. Okay, once you give the double colon and hit enter, now you're entering inside the for I loop. You are entering inside the for I loop. Here you can write for j in range. For j in range, then I am providing this ln of I minus 1. Ln of I minus 1, which will be the start index or the start value, comma minus 1. This will be the stop value or stop index, which is excluded, comma minus 1. This is the step size, negative step. Why? Because ultimately, what is my requirement? This penny has to be reversed. This penny has to be reversed. Reversed means whatever was there at the last, it will come at first, and sequentially like that it will follow. Like y here will come at first, then this n will come next, and correspondingly the next n, then next e, then next p, like that. Okay, so you have, that's why here you will have to go in the reverse direction, in the negative direction. So for that, step size is required as minus 1. This I've explained to you in the previous classes. And there are two ways in which you can start grabbing up the last element, then the second last element, then the third last element, and so on. One way is you apply the for loop, and then you apply the range function. Besides that, inside the range function, you can start off with minus 1 comma minus of len, then whatever iterable is there, minus 1 comma minus of len of iterable minus 1 comma minus 1. Okay, otherwise, you can go via this also. That is length of the iterable minus 1, comma minus 1, comma minus 1. Via this also you can go. So what will happen here is that the last element will be picked up. The last value will be picked up in this way. This is the universal formula that you have to apply for any scenario wherever you will have to first start picking up the last values, and then the second last value, and the third last value, and so on. So here, what is the length of I? What is the length of I? How many number of elements there are in I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 elements. Okay. So ln of I minus 1. Ln of I minus 1 will be nothing but 5 minus 1, which is equals to 4. Okay. So what will be your range? Your range will be 4. Ln of I minus 1 is nothing but your ultimately 4. And you can very easily see what will be the index position of all these characters. Like with respect to penny, what will be the index positions? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here you have the last value, here you have the last value, and whatever is the index corresponding to it, that will be the stop index. What is that? It is 4. So we have already started with 4, comma stop index is minus 1. This will be excluded, and Python will go just before the stop value or stop index. Okay, when you're applying the range and loop. So this minus 1 will be excluded, and whatever comes before this, that will be taken in. So 0 comes before minus 1, comma minus 1 step size. So what will be the sequence of numbers generated here? 4, then 4 minus 1 is 3, 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. So here you're applying the for j loop. For j loop, you're applying inside the for I loop. So this is your nested for loop. This is your nested for loop, a loop within a loop, a for loop within a for loop. So here the j will iterate. Here j will iterate over 4, then it will iterate over to 3, then j will iterate over to 2, then j will iterate over to 1, and finally j will iterate over to 0. Okay. So at first j is 4. At first j is 4. So you just give double colon. Now I think this concept is clear. Like whenever you have to pick up the last value, then you can go via this len, that is length of the iterable minus 1 comma minus 1 comma minus 1, or the other alternate way that I had shown in the previous class that you can also apply, that is minus 1 comma minus of len of the iterable minus 1 comma minus 1, when you have to go in the reverse order and start grabbing up the last elements. Now give the double colon and you come into the next line. What is written in the next line? Resi is equals to resi plus I of j. So what will this look like? Resi is equals to, now here resi is nothing but your empty string. So it is your empty string plus I of j. What is j right now? J is 4. Okay. So it will be is equals to plus I of 4. What is I? I right now is stuck at penny. So I of 4 means the fourth index position of I. Fourth index position of I. Whatever value is there at the fourth index position of I, that value will be picked up. What is that? It is Y, isn't it? This is at 0th index position, 1th index position, 2th index position, 3rd index position, 4th index position. So at 4th index position of I, this particular value, that is character Y, will be picked up and will be placed here. So ultimately string concatenation, this will become your Y. Okay. Now after this, see, the for j loop has just started. The for j loop has just started. Has it ended? It is not ended. J has to iterate over to the next value. So control goes back from line number 4 to line number 3. Once that happens, J iterates over to the next value, which is your 3. Okay. So now what will happen is resi is equals to resi plus I of j. Now here in this resi, the last value of resi will come up, or whatever the value of resi is right now holding, that value will come up, which is nothing but your y, plus I of 3, because what is the value of j right now? J is right now at 3. Okay, so here it will be y plus, now I of 3, that means at third index position of I of 3, third index position of I, whatever is there at third index position of I, that will be picked up. It is small n. This small n is the value that lies at the third index position of I. This value will be picked up and will be placed here. String concatenation y plus n will be your yn. Okay. J loop has not yet completed, so the control goes back from line 4 to line 3. Now j iterates over to the next value, that is 2. So resi is equals to resi, whatever is the present value of resi, it is yn plus I of j, j is 2. So I of j becomes I of 2. Okay, is equals to resi is right now yn plus, now I of 2. What does it mean? Second index position of I. Second index position of I. What is there at the second index position of I? Small n, isn't it? So this small n is there at the second index position of I. This will be picked up. So yn plus n will be your yn. J loop has not yet completed. Control goes back again to line number 3. Now J iterates over to the next value, that is 1. So resi is equals to resi plus J. What is the current value of resi? It is yn plus I of J. So J value is right now 1. So I of J will become I of 1. So whatever is there at the 1th index position of I, that particular value will be picked up. At 1th index position of I, what value is there? At 1th index position of I, this value is there, that is character E or alphabet E, this will be picked up. So this will be YNN, this YNN here, nothing else, okay, plus I of 1 is nothing but your small e. So this becomes your YNNE. Okay. Now I think you're getting a grip over it, that how the reverse is happening. Okay. The J loop has not yet been completed, so the control goes back to line number 3 again, and now J iterates over to 0. So resi is equals to resi plus I of j. What is the current value of resi? It is YNNE plus I of j. What will become? I of 0. Because j is 0 right now. Okay, I of j will become I of 0 because the present value of j is now 0. I of 0. Okay, I of 0. So what is there at the 0th index position of I? What is there at the 0th index position of I? It is capital P. So at zeroth index position of I, whatever value is there, that value will be picked up and placed here. String concatenation happens. YNNE plus P is nothing but your YNNEP. Okay. Now the for J loop has completed. The for J loop has completed. This was the last value that it had iterate over to up to 0. So now the control comes out. The control comes out of the for J loop. The control comes out of the for J loop because it has ended, and now we are into the fifth line. We are into the fifth line. Okay. What happens here? Reci is equals to Reci. What is the value of Reci? The value of Reci is this one plus blank space plus blank space. Okay. Now this particular line, it does not fall under the for J loop, but it definitely falls. It definitely falls under the for I loop, isn't it? You can gauge it via the indentation also, like under the same line. Like here you see, in case of for, under for, you have this reci also. So this reci does not fall under the for J loop. But this reci, it is not in line with the for I. Rather, you can see that this reci falls inside the for I loop. And also the for I loop has not yet completed. Okay. So now the control goes back from line number 5 to line number 2. When the control goes back from line number 5 to line number 2, what happens? For I in LST1, I is iterating over LST1 element by element. Already I has iterated over penny, which was the first element of LST1. So what is the next element of LST1? The next element of LST1 is paints. Now the value of I will be nothing but your paints. Okay. What will be the index position? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 0, 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So an additional thing, that is 5. Okay. Then again the same thing, you give double colon already given inside. You now go to the for J loop. Now here how will it operate? Here basically you see len of I, that is length of I. Length of I will be what? How many elements are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be len of I will be nothing but your 6. 6 minus 1. 6 minus 1. It will be 5. So now you can see our calculation and formula is perfectly secured, because in this way, even if you have variable lengths kind of values, then also there is no problem. It can easily pick up the last value. Here you have 5. Here you have 5. And what we also want to pick up from the fifth index position, then the fourth index position, then the third index position, then the second index position, then the 1th index position, and the 0th index position in the reverse order. So the step size is -1, perfectly fine. And we have to go up to 0. And here we have the stop value -1, which is excluded. So Python will go just before the stop value, that is internally this will become 0. Python will go up to 0. Before -1 you have 0 only. Only thing is here instead of 4 you have 5. So what will be your range here? Range will be your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. Now what happens here? Reci is equals to Reci plus I of j. So what is your Reci right now? Reci is this one, isn't it? Reci is currently this one. Sorry, this plus this. This is what your Reci is. The latest updated value shall be taken. That's what happens in programming. Latest updated value. So the latest updated value we got from here only. That is YNNEP plus blank space that comes up here. Okay. Plus I of j. I of j. Now j will start with 5, then j will be 4, then j will be 3, then j will be 2, then j will be 1, then j will be 0. So I of j. What is j? J is 5. I 5. So this is equals to plus fifth index position of I. Fifth index position of I. What is there at the fifth index position of I? Small s. This will be picked up. Okay. So this will be is equals to overall YNNEP, YNNEP, one second, YNNEPS. Okay, already this is what you get. YNNEPS. What will this become? This will become your YNNEP space this S. Okay, that's what it will become. Now, has the for j loop completed? The for j loop has not yet completed. Why? Because now j, it has to go up to 0 and it has just iterated over 5. So now the control goes back to the for j loop, that is line number 3. Here j iterates over to the next value, which is 4. Okay, so now what happens? Now what happens? This entire thing is taken and you place it here. Uh, okay, this entire thing plus plus I of j. What is j? J is right now 4. Okay, so the fourth index position of I. Fourth index position of I. What value is there? Small t. So this will become equals to small t. Now see, uh, this is YNNEP space in between. After YNNEP there is space and here you have your S. Okay, plus plus this small t. So what will this become? This will become as your YNNEP, YNNEPS and T. Clear? Then in this way, J will iterate over to the next value, that is 3. When it iterates over 3, then whatever is there at the third index position, whatever is there at the third index position, that is n, that will be picked up. So it will become in this way stn. Then j iterates over to 2. When j iterates over to 2, then whatever is there at the second index position, that will be picked up because we have this ij. Okay, as j iterates continuously, thanks to this ij, corresponding values will be picked up. When j iterates over to 2, then whatever is there at the second index position of I, that will be picked up. That will be this I. Okay. Then j iterates over to 1. J iterates over to 1. Then whatever is there at the 1th index position of I, that will be picked up. That is A. Okay. Same process. Just same process continuously repeating over. Same process is continuously repeating. Only the values are changing. Okay. And just the ranges are changing. Otherwise, the cycle is the same. Then your j becomes 0. When j becomes 0, then whatever is there at the 0th index position of I, that will be picked up and placed here. Clear? Now once j has completed over 0, then the control comes out of the for j loop and we come to this line. Resi is equals to resi plus this. So what will happen here? Here you have this value resi plus the blank space. Okay. Now in this way, the next in this way, now you see at from line number 5, at line number 5, you see the control will go back to line number 2 again because the for I loop has not yet completed. The for I loop has not yet completed. Okay. The next value on which I iterates over is purple. So purple. And definitely this purple will also be picked up. So what will happen here is purple will be picked up and this will be then reversed. So when purple is reversed, you will have this value ELPRUP, ELPRUP, okay, like this. Then the next value again will be picked up, which is nothing but your pots. Like I will iterate over to the next value. which will be your pots. This will be picked up and it will be reversed. So pots, when it is reversed, it will become stop. Okay, so we are going correctly. YNNEP, then STNIAP, then LPROP, then stop. Correspondingly, after pots, then I will iterate over to with. I will iterate over to with. This will be also reversed. So when with is reversed, HTIW, HTIW. That's what it will become. Then I will iterate over to pastel. I will iterate over to pastel. And this pastel will be reversed. When it is reversed, it will become let sap. And that's what you will have here. And finally, I iterates over to the last value of the string, which is your patterns. These patterns will be reversed finally. These patterns will be reversed finally. And here you will get. So what we are getting, YNNEP fine, then STNIAP fine, LPROP fine, stop fine, HTIW fine, let's app fine, SNRETTAP fine, and in between all of them, there is space because ultimately I need a string output, and in case of a string output, there should be space between the words. Between each word, there should be the space character, isn't it? Whenever you have a string value. So this was the last value SNRETTAP that we obtained by reversing patterns. And after that, you have this additional blank space. After that, you have this additional blank space that appears at the right end. This needs to be eliminated out. So for that, we can use the strip function. Okay. Now you see, if you have followed this looping, what I wanted to convey is that this is known as the outer loop and this is known as the inner loop. The inner loop will always complete at first and then the outer loop will complete. Okay. So please remember at line number 2, this is your inner loop and this is your, sorry, at line number 2, this is your outer loop and this is your inner loop. Okay. This is your outer loop, this for I, and this one is your inner loop, and the inner loop will complete at first and then the outer loop will complete. Okay, so here we could see that at every time whenever I was iterating, like I iterated over to the first element penny, then the for j loop, it ran from start to beginning. Then when I went back to pence, then the for j loop, it completely ran right from start to till the beginning. Then when I iterated over purple, then also the for j loop will completely run right from the start to till the end. And this continues for pots with pastel and also for patterns. Finally, when I goes over to patterns, iterates over patterns, then for j loop will complete. The for j loop will complete at first right from start to till the end. And now after for j loop has been completed and this resi part has been obtained, which output is whose output is yielded over here. Now we can see that the control, when it goes back to the for I loop, the control when it goes back to the for I loop, it sees that the for I loop has completed. For I loop has completed. Okay, since the for I loop has now completed, since the for I loop has now completed, so now the for I loop won't run, the for I loop won't run anymore. And if the for I loop doesn't run anymore, then this part won't also run anymore. For j loop, then the resi parts, they won't run anymore because the for I loop has already been completed. So the control now goes to this particular line, that is to line number 6 directly. Okay, all the loops are completed. So what will happen here is, the strip method or strip function, we know what it does. It basically strips the string. It basically strips the string from the space characters on either sides. On either sides of the string, if you have any space characters on the left hand side or on the right hand side, then those space characters will be stripped off thanks to this strip function. So here, as you can see, at the right end of the string, here you have this blank space character. This will be stripped off thanks to the strip function. And how to apply? Resi.strip. So this entire thing will be applied to the strip function, and this thing, there is this blank space, will be eliminated out. Ultimately, here plus blank space means you will have an additional blank space here only that will be eliminated out thanks to this strip function. Now you print your resi. When you print your resi, just hit shift plus enter for this cell, and here you get YNNEP, STN, just the above thing we get here, okay, in the reverse order. The whatever output we required, that has been obtained here in the reverse order, where the first words, the words, they basically maintain the order, but each and every word has been reversed. Now further, if you want to convert this entire thing, that is, here you have this entire string, here you have this entire string, and you want to convert it to a list, then just like how we did in the previous class, we applied the for loop. Like here we applied the for loop and we converted the string into a list. Here also, like the same thing we did, we applied the looping and we finally converted the string into list. That same code, same logic, same code, same logic only you will have to use here also. And if you use the same code, same logic here, maybe the variable names will change. Then what you will do is that you will be able to convert this entire string into this particular list. And when you convert this into a particular list, then each and every word right from the beginning will be converted into a separate element of the list, like YNNEP. It is the first element of the list. Then the second word STNIAP, this becomes the second element of the list. Dot dot dot. In this way, the last word SNRETTAP, this becomes the final element of the list. That is the seventh element of the list. Okay. So this is how nested looping works. Here also, just for your better clarification, a simple example I've taken. Here, for example, for I in range 3, for j in range 3, you want to print world. Then how will it appear? First you see, I will be, range 3 means what? Range 3 means I will be iterating over 0, then 1, then 2. And here, this is the outer loop. This is the outer loop. This will always finish at last. This will always finish at last. And inside this, you have this inner loop. For j loop, it is the inner loop. Now j, how will this j iterate? For j in range 3. For j in range 3, j will iterate over 0, then 1, then 2. And this is the inner loop. Inner loop will always complete at first. So outer loop, it always completes at last. Inner loop always completes at first. Okay. Outer loop, it always completes last, and the inner loop completes first. Okay. So right now, what is the value of I? It is 0. What is the value of j? This is also 0. Okay. Now, when I is 0, when I is 0, then your j will be 0, 1, 2. When I is 1, then the entire j loop will run again, where j will be 0, then 1, then 2. Once the j loop is completed, again the control goes back to the for I loop. There, here, when I will be 2, then the j loop will be completed again. That is, j will be 0, then 1, then 2. So for each value of I, the inner loop, that is the for j loop, will completely run 3 times. Like here, for this value of 0 of I, j loop will run 3 times. Then again, for this value of I, the j loop will run 3 times. Again, for this value of I, the j loop will run 3 times. And finally, when the control goes back to the for I loop and it sees that the for I loop has completed, then ultimately it comes out. So that's why I've written outer loop, it always completes at last, and the inner loop completes at first. Okay. So when I is 0, when I is 0, then j will be 0. When j is 0, world is printed. Here you get world. Then j will be 1, world is printed again. Then j will be 2, world will be printed again. Okay. Now the for j loop has completed when I was 0. When I was 0, the entire for j loop has been completed. Control goes back to line number 1. and for I loop. Has the for I loop completed? No. So I iterates over to the next value, which is 1. Now I remains fixed at 1. J again starts from 0. When J is 0, this world is printed here. Okay. Then has the J loop completed? No. J iterates over 1. And when J is 1, then this world is printed. J loop has completed? No. Then J iterates over to 2 and world is printed again. Okay. Now the for J loop has been completed. Now control goes back to the for I loop. Has the for I loop completed? No. I has been 0, I has been 1, I has to go up to 2. Now I becomes 2. When I becomes 2, J loop will run again for 3 times. So when I is fixed at 2, J becomes 0 at first. So world is printed. Then J becomes 1. World is printed here for the second time. Then J becomes 2. World is printed again for the third time. For J loop has been completed. Now the control goes back to the for I loop. Has the for I loop completed? Yes. So both the loops have been completed. The inner loop completes at first and the outer loop completes at last. Now it comes out and you see all these things have been printed. And this print here, as we know, this print is, I have placed it where? This print, it does not belong inside the for j loop. Rather, it is in line. If with regards to indentation, this print, it is in line with the for loop. So each time the for j loop completes, like for the first time when I was 0, then j loop ran for 3 times, and here you got the world printed 3 times. Okay, for j loop completed, and here this print will do what? It will enter a new line. As you can see, there is a gap, a new line here. This appears after the for j loop has been completed. Then again the for I loop continues. When I becomes 1, j loop runs for 3 times, and 3 times you get world. After the world has been after these 3 worlds, the for j loop has been completed. The control comes out of the for j loop, and here we can see this blank print. This blank print will enter a new line again, like here, a gap, and goes the control goes back to for I loop again. Now here I is 2 and j will run for 3 times. Once the j runs for 3 times, that is for j loop has been completed, all the 3 words you get. After that, you have print, a gap appears again. Okay, so this is how for nested loop works. So I hope you people have liked this class, and if you have liked this class, then please leave your comments, and please hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and press the bell icon for notifications, and we will meet in the next class. So thank you.